It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Coronavirus is in the news. How's it going to infect or impact the tech industry? What's going to happen to conferences? And what kind of mask should I buy? We'll also talk about the deep fake between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and what Twitter's doing to ban Mike Bloomberg bots. It's all coming up next on Twit. This Week in Tech comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. Securing every access point in your company doesn't have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure. Check out lastpass.com/twit to know more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 759, recorded Sunday, February 23rd, 2020. Never gonna give you up. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Zapier. Zapier connects all your business software and handles the work for you so you can focus on what matters most. Right now, through the end of the month, go to zapier.com/twit for your free 14-day trial. And by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi's enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and faster than the competition with no fees for egress or API requests and no complex storage tiers. Your business may be unpredictable. Your data costs shouldn't be. Start a free trial at wasabi.com. Enter the code TWIT. And by CashFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they deserve. Power your site or app with CashFly CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. And by LastPass. Reused passwords are compromising the security of businesses worldwide. LastPass will ensure that your employees are using passwords securely by generating strong passwords for them. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. Well, everybody, it's time for Twit, the big show where we talk about the week's tech news. This Week in Tech, Lori Gill is joining us. Normally, Lori's at MacBreak Weekly, but we thought it'd be fun to get somebody with pink hair on the show today. Managing editor at iMore. Great to see you again, Lori.
Thank you. Great to be here.
A real pleasure. Lori says she sang in her punk band last night, so she might be a little hoarse, a little froggy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you why we felt we needed you, Lori, because we have the pink hair, we have the blue beard, and I just wanted a color parody here. Owen J.J. Stone, who looks like Papa Smurf tonight. Owen, is that a real beard, or is that, what is that, Brillo?
I bleed Twit, Uncle Leo. This is oozing out of my body. I can't stand it, Uncle Leo. It's just coming all out of my face.
It's great to have you. IQMZ.com. And Dan Morin is here, a legendary Macintosh journalist and podcaster from sixcolors.com. It's always a pleasure to have you on as well, Dan.
Thanks. Very good. I'll represent the 6 colors rather than the any colors on my hair or anything. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm boring today.
We have 2.5 colors. Something like that. Are you located in where are you located? Are you here in the Bay Area or?
No, I'm in Boston, actually.
Boston, okay. You also do Clockwise with our friend Micah Sargent. You do The Rebound, Inconceivable, The Incomparable. From Somerville, Massachusetts, weighing in at 102 pounds, Dan Morin.
Oh, that sounds good. I've lost some weight then.
Great to have you. So we were talking before the show. In fact, I'm going to take the interview that we did with Dr. Mom. I was curious. We know that there are a lot of conferences coming up, and I've been reading articles saying the world should prepare because it's probable that the coronavirus, now named COVID-19, will be a pandemic, that they have not been able to contain it. Not a reason to panic by any means, but a lot of companies are reconsidering the tech conference thing. And so there's a number of stories about, well, Sony is backing out of PAX East. We already know Mobile World Congress was canceled. Sony and Facebook say they won't go to the Game Developers Conference. IBM has a platinum sponsor of the RSA conference this week in San Francisco has pulled out. it seems as if a lot of companies are taking this coronavirus very seriously, and there will be, we already know, probably a financial hit to Apple and others because of manufacturing issues in China with COVID-19. Apple shares dropped 2.6%, although honestly, if you're an Apple stockholder, you're probably taking any opportunity you can to do a little profit taking, just because the price is up 80% over this year so far. I mean, it's year over year. It's amazing what's been going on. It's just a temper. Look at that blip. Little drop here, but man. Dr. Mom gave us a little, and we'll give you the rundown on what to do to protect yourself. The short answer is wash your hands a lot. Try not to touch your face. If you can get an N95 mask, and they are widely sold out, it might be worth, getting one. But do go. You recommended the CDC site, Lori Gill, where they tell you which N95 masks really will protect you. So not all will. Just N95.
Yeah, apparently there's little additions, not just N95, but there's a couple of tag numbers at the end that you want to look out for too, which is why, Leo, you noticed it was so hard to find those specific ones. Those are really, really expensive if you even have the opportunity to buy one that's come up.
And Dan, you said something that kind of depresses me, that the carnival is being canceled in Venice.
Yeah, I think they canceled that. And I mean, there's obviously a bunch of other events. I heard this morning, I think there were Italy has sort of the biggest number of cases in Europe right now, which is one of the reasons Venice is one and Milan was another one.
Wow.
And it's a little surprising because they're both unconnected too. So like this is the thing we're going to see more and more, right? And I think that's what's interesting about seeing how companies react to it, is because this is the first example of it, but it's certainly not going to be the last. So watching all these companies pull out of conferences and watching cities cancel major events, I think, you're going to see a lot of effects from these types of things going forward.
It also is an opportunity for entrepreneurs here on Indiegogo. This is just in time for Venice. This carnival is a Plague Doctor N95 mask. If you wore that on the streets, I think you'd be assaulted. I just think it looks scary as hell.
Or people leave you alone, maybe, and that's
I was
what you
going to
want.
say you're going to be the one assaulting people if you're wearing that. You're never going to have anyone approach you to bother you at all wearing that mask.
So terrifying.
At all.
And by the time you get it, it's probably too late. So,
But you have it for the next pandemic.
For the next pandemic,
That's right.
You'll be
That's right.
You said, Owen, that you have a go bag?
Yes.
What's a go bag?
Go bag is in case of zombies, apocalypse, the world falling down, people catching Coco Venus. I have a bag that I could take with me and my kid when we hit the road to our secret bunker to go hang out and live.
Wait a minute. You not only have a go bag, you have a secret bunker?
I personally do not. I have a very wealthy friend that has has one.
You have an invite?
I'm not. I have 2 invites, depending if I'm on the West Coast or on the East Coast. I have 2 places I can go to.
Can you hook
Lucky.
Can you hook a friend up here?
You probably know 12 people that have them. You just haven't talked about it because you think it's a joke. But I'm sure you know wealthy enough people that they have them out there.
You're right. I bet you Jason Calacanis has.
I'm guaranteeing Jason has one. I'm putting that on the books.
But
right now.
I'm going to say, if you have a secret bunker, one of the keys is not to tell anybody.
Well, again,
secret is operative.
Secret.
It's the same thing I say about how come we're not going to Mars. Okay, first of all, you need people that are useful. All these rich people think they're going to Mars. We're going to go to do tweet and build a new Twitter. No, you need engineers, laborers, plumbers. You need people that actually do work. So if you find yourself useful, then you could get into a secret bunker. Now, whether that usefulness is money or other skills,
I have no skill that anybody would want in the secret bunker. I could podcast. Do you need a podcaster you could put in a bunker? No, actually.
See that?
And you sit
my
here in the
town, I
separate
can-
bunker right outside.
Yeah, you go with the telephone sanitizers and the insurance salesman over there.
Wait a minute. I feel like we're going somewhere really dark with this.
It is dark. I'm scared.
Isn't this a part of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where the
Yes.
Earth was populated by the
it's
dumb
just in
people who
case.
were laborers?
Good catch. Good catch. You're exactly
Just
right.
in case. Hey, I'm just saying, zombies happen. The Coco Venus is out here. Even though I don't worry about this stuff. Every couple of years, there's something where everybody's dying and I'm supposed to be afraid, where I'm like, dude, people die in car accidents every day. People out here on heroin and addicted to drugs. The world is a beautiful, horrible place.
You don't think
And
this
just
is
have to-
a Bernie Sanders conspiracy to get all the rich people in a bunker and then
That'd
just
be-
say, okay, lock them in, and now the world is a better place.
If that was the case, I would say everybody can go to Mars. We just put people on ships and blast them
That's
up
what
into
they did.
space
That's
and
what
see what
did.
they can make out
And
of it.
then, sad to say, the entire population was wiped out by a virus they caught from the telephone. So
we're gonna be just fine, Uncle Lee. If we survive the plague with no medicine, no technology, no science, no geniuses, we'll get past this too.
should Apple investors be worried? I mean, they've had a huge run up over the last 12 months. Warren Buffett sold off $800 million worth of his Apple stock last quarter. I mean, certainly that he didn't know coronavirus was coming.
Well,
I don't think there's a reason for them to worry about it. I mean, and Buffett, it's more interesting to look at how much Apple stock he still owns.
Still has a ton.
Which I think is in billions.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty
72
small
billion.
amount for him.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So that's a
72
small
billion.
percentage. Even with Apple revising its quarterly earnings, they estimated $63 million in revenue next quarter. If they miss that and they only get $60 billion in revenue, is that really the end of the world for them? I don't think so. I think what's interesting about it for them is between this and the relations they've had with China and the problems they've had with that over the last year in terms of the social aspects, I think it's pointing out to them how much of a weak link it is, the fact that they've centralized so much in China. They need to consider diversifying their operations for assembly and all of that to more places around the world, because they can have a situation where a pandemic breaks out and a whole bunch of their facilities have to get shut down, which could impact their bottom line. So I think that's interesting going forward, is just trying to figure out how are you going to deal with these kinds of situations when you put so many eggs in that basket.
Dan, you've got a lot that's so true. There's the problem I think that we're seeing right now is that 2 years in a row, Apple has had an issue where being so centrally located in China has negatively affected their finances. A year ago, they had something happen. They talked about how they were diversifying. We didn't see that happen fast enough. And now a second year, something else has happened where there's too much centralized stuff happening specifically in China, and they didn't diversify where they go for supplies and even just building up their, people who are buying things. So I think at this point it is starting to frighten investors a little because they're not acting on that. They didn't act on it a year ago. And if Apple, wants to make them feel better and make the investors feel a little safer, they will actively go out and diversify more with more effort so that they won't have to, adjust their guideline. If something big happens, they'll just say, oh, everything's fine with us. We've got things all over the country or all over the world. It's not going to be, if something negative happens in China, that's not going to affect us. Tariffs won't affect us. Drops in the economy aren't going to affect us. That's what they need to do.
Have they diversified sufficiently? I guess not.
So two things about the diversification. One, it's hard to diversify when you have a labor force that works for negative money and putting them in other places around the globe. So that's the first thing. Finding another place that can make these products at the price that China makes these prices at, which keeps your investors happy. Second thing I like to just point out is if you're a regular person, now's the time to buy a couple of Apple stocks and to buy the sub chains of their subsidiaries, okay? Because not only is Apple going down, but the place where Apple gets their chips, their memory cards, their glass, everywhere, all those places are taking a hit because they're losing out right now. So if you got a little bit of money to spread around, now's the time to buy.
This would be a good moment for me to say none of us know what the hell we're talking about. And if you make investments based on any recommendations you hear on our shows, good luck.
Yeah.
And that being said, I think Apple in general is a safe bet on
Again. I'm the guy who told my dad 5 or 6 after Steve Jobs died. So it was 9 years ago. Oh, sell your Apple stock. Apple's not going anywhere. And every Thanksgiving since
in the tank.
Yeah, Apple's going to tank. You should sell that stock, cash in on all the money you've made. Every Thanksgiving he tells me, and I didn't do it. Ha ha. Sorry,
I think Owen makes a great point too. The other issue there is like volume, right? Apple makes so many devices, just millions upon millions of devices. Moving their supply chain from one place to another is a huge challenge, right? Like finding not only the labor force, but also the facilities that are available to produce these kinds of things in the huge scale that they needed to be produced. That's almost impossible. So like even to Lori's point, like this being a problem a year ago, a year is not enough time for them to ramp up these kinds of production lines because of the fact that they're so deeply invested in China. So it's going to be a gradual process. And in some ways, they're unlucky that they got hit 2 years in a row by these very specific locate events. But yeah.
We're talking about, a $60 billion company, though. I think you can throw money at it to make it go faster. I do agree with you.
To a certain extent, but there's still limitations in terms of like the factories, just because China has made such a huge part of their economy, creating these places where they can build all of these things and having these gigantic labor forces. And other countries have not invested as much in that yet. And so Apple can throw money around, but even so, there's just physical limitations.
But let's not forget, Apple has done this already once. They did it in 2007 when they introduced the iPhone. They actually built an amazing, it's not like all this stuff existed before Apple came along and said, let's build the iPhone. They had to invent machines. They had to create a supply chain. This is why Tim Cook is now the CEO of Apple. He created an amazing supply chain. Okay, maybe it took him, 10 years? Probably didn't even take him 10 years, 5 years. Is there evidence to say that they're doing that now? Are they starting to look at, Samsung did not get bit because they'd moved their production to Vietnam some time ago and South Korea.
Well, you also have to figure that people, again, smarter than us are looking at it and saying,
I would hope.
Yeah.
Well, can we weather this storm? What is the cost of building a whole new infrastructure as opposed to riding this wave out? Okay, right. So that might be another reason why they're
that
not
seems
just
to me a dumb thing to do.
Money.
Just because, okay, so this wave you ride out,
smarter than us.
But then there's going to be another. Well, not necessarily, Owen. We're smart.
Leo's pretty smart.
We're pretty smart.
Pretty smart.
No,
you just called yourself a podcaster 20 minutes ago.
I know,
I'm
well,
not listening. And you told your father to dump a stock.
I'm
not
smart for a
right
podcaster. It's a small. It's a low bar. I'm just saying.
Pee Wee Herman to Albert Einstein in 30 seconds on yourself. What are we doing?
Cherry. So the idea would be, it seems to me, diversify. We always say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Samsung is going to benefit from this because they're cranking out, admittedly, it's the S20 and the Z Flip. By the way, I canceled my Z Flip.
What?
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, Leo.
Yeah, well.
I wanted to see that so bad.
I was so miffed because I ordered it within a minute or two of the, midnight Eastern time, and I couldn't get it. And then I went into the Best Buy that I ordered it from. They said, yeah, we had 2. So 2 people beat me. And then I said, well, all right, ship it to me. And I canceled it Friday because it's like they still haven't shipped it.
You breathe on it and it breaks.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. By the time I get it and review it, no one will care.
Yeah,
no one will care.
I wanted that razor so bad, and I watched like a stress test and a drop test. I got anxiety in my heart knowing that I was about to put out $1,500 for something. And I like if I put it in my pocket and I turn the wrong way, I got issues. So
I got an old razor here. I'll sell you for $1,000. Just
jerry rig everything. I think jerry rig everything kind of put the kibosh on it after. But I didn't plan to take an X-Acto knife or pointed things to my screen, but it did look like it wasn't the most durable screen ever. And
but then it folds in half, so you don't have to worry about that. It's self-protecting.
Don't talk me into it.
No, the outside has a touch screen and it's glass, and I saw a drop test on it. It shattered into a billion pieces, and it's just and you can't cover it. Like I can't protect it with something. There are
cases for it. There are cases.
but
it
more
comes
the point,
with a case in the box.
how many times? Okay, 10 years ago when we all had flip phones, you didn't mind pulling out your pocket and flip it to send the occasional text or make the occasional call. How many times do you pull your phone out of your pocket these days? You want to have to flip the thing open every single time?
Okay, I like you,
Yes,
Dan Moore.
it
You're
sounds
talking me out of it.
satisfying. That sounds wonderful to me.
Oh,
I
especially
wanna
you
do
hang
that.
up on somebody and you go, wham, and then it shatters into a million pieces.
Oh,
and
here
you
we go. Here we go. Look,
Now they know.
I just get over here and I'm.
That's your billfold.
Huh? Hello?
That's a classic Merlin Man move.
It's a Merlin
there.
man talking into his billfold, baby.
What are we doing out here?
Hey.
Okay, let me flip
Look how
that
you
up.
flip it, though. You look so cool.
I love you so much for lying to me like that. That sounds so good. When you just said that. I appreciate you.
So TrendForce issued a report on what the COVID-19 outbreak could do to tech manufacturing. Smartphone production, they project 12% decline this quarter. The supply chain is labor intensive, so having people out sick obviously is going to cause not only a shortage in the phones, but all of the upstream components like camera modules. So it's going to take a while to recover there. Several fiber optic suppliers are based in Wuhan, the locus, the epicenter of the coronavirus. That's 25% of global production. That could impact 5G because 5G is going to require, in many cases, fiber optics. The flash and DRAM market, no, because there are companies making them in Vietnam and Singapore and South Korea, and they're also highly automated. Oh, the robots don't get COVID-19. No, they don't. Video game console manufacturing has been heavily hit, but next generation production should not be impacted since the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X aren't launching till the holiday quarter, and so there'll be time to make the, they don't sell that many of those. Smartwatches, laptop PCs, and smart speakers will see the biggest decline in previous forecasts. Smartwatches, 16%. So there are some sectors that are going to be hit worse than others, but yeah, we'll recover, right? It's so what? You can't get the phone for another month or two, right?
I think there's a coming and going aspect to it too. I mean, when Apple talked about revising their forecast, part of it was not only the production aspect, but the fact that they had to close all their stores in China. Yeah, and China is a huge market for them. So any company that's doing business in China right now, they're going to take some hits from that. And then the question is, if this continues to expand more globally, are other cities and other countries going to follow the playbook that China set out and close down a bunch of these stores in other countries, thus killing, some brick and mortar retail? So there's definitely a consumer impact as well as just the production side.
Well, since I've got Dan and Lori here, and they both cover the Apple space, let's talk about whatever this next phone that Apple, the rumor is now March 31st. Is that credible that Apple will have an event to announce this $400 successor to the iPhone SE? Is that about right?
Yeah, if it's an Apple, if there will be an Apple event, March 31st makes the most sense. I think they traditionally will have it the last Tuesday of the month, so that fits right into the narrative of when they would have it for sure. Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree.
Dan, how much has the coronavirus impacted that? I mean, that's probably what those factories were making.
Yeah, there's the possibility of that. I think what's likely is that since Apple already said in their guidance that they'll be constrained on the iPhone, it's likely that if they are sort of ramping this, that there will be short supply of it in the first place. There's an open question of what the demand's going to look like, though. There are certainly a lot of pent-up demand from people looking for a cheaper iPhone.
And smaller.
So I think that is a potential risk. Yeah,
Lori
cheaper
wants
and smaller,
smaller,
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is a risk because I think you'll be looking at maybe just it's going to take more, there'll be a few weeks, ship times will slip pretty quickly, and it will take a little while for them. But I don't think it necessarily will push back them announcing it. I think they want to hit that March date just for not only that, but whatever else they have in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And you can hit the launch and the pre-order and then get that first wave out like they always do, and then tell you that the next wave is going to take a month to get to you or whatever they want to do. But then they can actually judge what the market's going to be like. And you got to figure they were already pumping out these phones before this happened. They're not just making these phones a month before they announced them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So these phones have already probably been in production if they planned on having a March launch on them.
Right. And they're going to want to underpromise and overdeliver rather than the other
Yes.
way around.
Right.
That's how they do it.
Like the Z Flip.
Well, I know this phone's going to sell like hotcakes, and not just because it's cheaper, but just because I personally in the world see so many people with small phones, and it annoys me. And I ask them why, and it's just because they can't deal with a bigger phone. And I'm like, you are living in 1980 right now, and I cannot hold this thing in my hand. But they love a small phone, so I think this thing is going to sell like hotcakes for a lot of people.
It's not even that much smaller though. I mean, it's basically going to look a lot like the iPhone 8 in terms of size, which is smaller than the 10 and the 11, but it's
not as small as the SE.
Not like right. The SE was way smaller.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going
Dan's
back
got
there.
my back on
Was
this
SE
one.
4-inch?
Yeah.
What do you got? Look at the size of that. That's
Hey, Grandma.
Beautiful. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It's so easy to hold in my hand. I love it so much.
Which model is that?
The SE.
That's the old SE. Okay.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it looks just like an
love
iPhone 5, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm over here working
Right.
with the new
Yeah.
iPhone. I don't know what you're talking about. That small stuff. I need something that just just dominates.
That's a
my whole
banana
hand space
phone.
when I'm falling. That's right.
That's a candy bar phone.
You don't like the
clearly.
new?
Come on.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. My mistake. Anyway,
I wish I had an iPhone
carry
8 in
on.
front of me to show the difference between the two, because it's like,
much
again,
bigger.
when we talk about small, I'm thinking of that 4-inch form factor. So I'm thinking
Yes.
that size. So when people say the iPhone 9, if you want to call it that, is the smaller phone, I'm completely in a disagreement. Dan, you are right down my pathway where this is not the small phone. This is the same size as the iPhone 8. That's not a small phone. That's a
still,
huge
what,
phone. It's like a
5.4
4.7.
inches? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's way too big.
at some point you're going to get aged out. Though you're going to have to do it.
No, and that's true. That actually my standard phone is an iPhone 11 Pro, and I've talked about this before. And Renee Ricci is actually the one that pointed out to me that size phone, the 4-inch phone, that it can't handle the processors that are now being made for these faster phones. So if you wanted a 4-inch phone, you would have to have a series chip that's 3 or 4 years old, because that size can't handle that capacity. So Apple's not going to make a phone that small anymore. They're just not going to do it. The technology that goes inside it would be too old. Nobody wants that. I don't want an iPhone SE that has technology from 5 years ago. I want an iPhone SE.
You want it to
that
look
has
like
today's
it.
technology.
You want it to look
Yeah.
like 5 years ago, but work like today.
And that's not going to happen. So until
You're the Emily
technology,
Dickinson of iPhones, basically.
yeah.
So they say the rumor is that it'll be an A13, the current A model processor in this new iPhone. So they just couldn't make it small because is it heat? Is it just the physical size of the chip?
The processor would just burn out the phone. The processor is too strong to handle.
It's too much, man. You can't handle
the phone can't handle it, and the phone would just kind of blank out. It would just crash on you all the time because
I assume battery
it.
battery capacity would probably be an issue too, right? You need that extra space to fit in those higher power batteries to power not only the processor but the screen and everything else that goes in there. So there is a physical space limitation for that as well.
Yeah, my hope though is that someday the guts of phone technology will be advanced enough that we can go back to smaller phones and just have faster processors and stronger batteries that are smaller, so that we can have that small phone again. That's my hope someday.
It's interesting. It's interesting too, because there was, I think back to the 80s and the 90s, and miniaturization was the trend for so long, right? Especially with the advent of microprocessors. And it seems like now we've moved away from that on that arc. And so eventually we have to wait to get back to the point where we can miniaturize everything once again.
We're trying to do so much. We've got multiple GPU cores in this thing. We've got, these are much more complicated chips. And then of course there's radios. Think about it. It is miniature. This is a supercomputer in my pocket.
But to be honest, they're overdoing it at some point. There's no R&D in reverse engineering to make things smaller now, because you're making a phone that's got 16 gigs of RAM in it. For what? What are you really doing on your phone and on a Samsung S20 that you need 16 and 30? No, you're not doing everything. That's
I'm doing everything.
Most people are taking pictures of cats. And when's the last time you edited a video?
I can have a terabyte of cat pictures on my phone.
But you don't, though. You don't. You
might.
Bump it off to the nobody uses that stuff, but we just keep pumping them in the air. And I'm like, why are we doing that? Because you got to sell it. And it's just so annoying because why? And greed, and we got to do it. Anyway, I'm sorry for complaining. But we don't need this, man. We don't need it.
All right.
I just need to tweet and text and videotape my kid sliding on a skateboard or something. I don't know.
Back to that flip phone again. There you go.
There we go.
I should have bought. I should have bought
that.
the Z Flip. I'm killing myself.
You need that battery power for your go bag, though. So,
True.
You got to have that.
True. Our show today brought to you. We got a great panel. Thank you for being here. Bluebeard himself, Dr. Owen J.J. Stone is in the house. He literally, folks, if most people listen so they don't know, just imagine. How can I describe this? It looks like a Brillo pad strapped to your chin, and it's bright blue. It's twit blue.
Yes.
Yes.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
I don't. I can't. I can't. Lori Gill.
Beautiful.
Lori, it's beautiful. Lori Gill, the lady with the pink hair.
I love this color.
Man, I feel like I'm living in a different world. I feel
You
like
are, Leo.
Emily Dickinson right now.
Come on, Boomer.
Yeah. Okay, Boomer. Okay. Dan Morin's also here. It's great to have you all. We do this show on Sunday afternoons with a lovely studio audience visiting us from France, from Australia, and some other places. I have it written down. Milwaukee from Mark, and Ray's visiting from Minneapolis. So we got people from all over the country visiting us. Thank you for being here in the studio with us. Our show today brought to you by Zapier. I am so in love with Zapier. Now it's got to the point where when I use a new app or tool, before I even get into it, I say, do you have Zapier integration? Zapier lets me automate the things I do over and over again so that I can still do them over and over again, but with no effort. And man, it works so well. There are over 2,000 apps you can connect with. If you're in business, everything from emails to spreadsheets to CRM. Got a home automation system? Yes. I use it for our shows all the time to build our rundowns. I use Zapier to bookmark, to tweet, and to put it into a Google Docs spreadsheet so Carson could put it in the show rundown. And it happens automatically. 4.5 million people who use Zapier. And on average, they save 40 hours a month. 40 hours a month, they don't have to do anything because they're using Zapier. And you don't have to be a developer to use Zapier. It's easy. Just connect the apps you use, connect your business software. If you're in sales, you engage leads instantly, automatically import new customers. You can notify your team about opportunities. Zapier is unique in another way. It supports multi-step apps. So multiple things can happen with a single trigger. That's very, very cool. Very, very cool. You want to try it? We got a 2-week trial for you, but you got to hurry right now through the end of the month. If you go to zapier.com/twit, zapier.com/twit, you can try it free for 2 weeks. Zapier.com/twit. I get an email every month from Zapier, or every week from Zapier saying, we've saved you so many hours. It's so cool. You're going to love it. And don't be intimidated. It's not programming. It's much, much simpler. You can build the exact solution you need in minutes. No code, no developer necessary. You'll feel powerful. Take Zapier to work and make more time to grow your business. Take Zapier home and have your lights come on and wild things happen. Right now through the end of the month, try Zapier free for 2 weeks. Zapier.com/twit. Zapier.com/twit. We thank Zapier for an amazing product. Now I know why I can't get the... Carson just put a story in. Now I know why I can't get the Z Flip. That factory's closed.
Whoops.
Now
I know.
Weren't you just saying that Samsung was in the clear?
I was just saying they were in the clear. An employee in the division that's in charge of smartphone production tested positive for coronavirus, so they've shut the factory down. And this is in South Korea. This is not in China. Might reopen on Monday. Oh, that's bad news. The shutdown's impact expected to be minimal. I guess if nobody's buying it.
That's what I was about to say. I didn't want to say it because it sounds rough, but I'm like, oh, now this is the problem why you didn't get your phone? I'm like, 4 people wanted this phone, and they were the 4 people that did reviews and dropped it on concrete.
I know.
Nobody bought this phone.
I was mad because like all the YouTubers got theirs. That's
and they had to send them back.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted one to keep. AirPods, you can't get those either, can you? I don't know if that's
always been
related.
the case.
That's just always been that way, right?
Yeah, it's been since you mean AirPods Pro, right?
The Pros.
Since its launch, it's been behind.
Well,
behind on.
I don't want to make this an
keeping up.
all Apple show. It's apples and viruses together. But as long as we're talking, I saw that weird Target post. Some Target employee posted pages from a Target inventory system that showed a bunch of new X products, including AirPods X generation. What do you guys think? When I looked at that, I thought
That's fake news.
That's fake news.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
so-
skeptical for sure.
Okay, we got
I think-
we got a fake news. Dan, you're skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that Apple's been working on other versions of the AirPod, and they would be crazy not to. Like Lori just said, they've been back ordered basically since they came out. Like, there is a clearly huge demand for their
People like
wireless
'em.
headphones.
Yeah.
Sales are great, right? So why not expand that? Because the biggest issue with AirPods for a lot of people is that they're not the right fit, or they're not comfortable. So if they're talking, there's been a lot of rumors that they would be
different
using
tips?
things like, yeah, or possibly an over the ear set, like more like a studio set of headphones.
Okay.
And obviously Beats makes some of those now, but certainly something
Apple is
with Apple
Beats.
branding.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But it's certainly something with the Apple branding, I think,
dye
could
them
potentially
white.
even just draw more
Bingo,
people.
AirPods.
Yeah, there you go.
X.
So I'm not surprised there
Rose
might be
gold.
something coming. I don't buy the name. That's the other thing.
Well,
Oh,
and then
right.
there was there were these images following shortly thereafter. Apple TV Gen X, Apple Watch Series X band, Apple iPod Touch X. So, Lori, you believe it?
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem out of the question. So I don't look at that and go, oh, this is definitely fake. I look at this and go, well, a March event is coming. Apple always releases new watch bands in March. TV Plus is something that they're really trying to promote. So putting out a new Apple TV, just a bumped generation version, nothing special, makes sense to me that would be called out at a March event or maybe at WWDC. Just an update, nothing crazy. And new AirPods. So the price on that one is what kind of throws me off, because I do believe that we're going to see a third generation AirPods coming out, maybe by this fall. Just that makes sense. They're just kind of, making it a little better, doing a little changes here and there. That's why we're hearing about AirPods Lite, whatever that is, AirPods Pro Lite, which I don't think is true. I think it's just a third generation AirPods. But the price of that looks more like an over the ears thing. But Beats also hasn't put out a new version of Studio Pro with the H1 chip. So this could be called Apple AirPods Generation X, but what it really might be is the new generation of the Beats Studio Pro. I hope I have that right. Their naming scheme is so hard for me to remember. It's their over-the-ears Pro noise-canceling headphones for Beats. So that could be the new generation that's going to have the H1 chip. We know that's coming. It just hasn't come out yet. So these, to me, all line up with, like, potentially, yes, this could be what's coming in March or maybe by WWDC. So that's my thought.
First of all, they're not going to use X. So
No. I
So
think
the
it's
X
a
must
name
just be a
place.
placeholder.
Yeah.
And it
yeah.
feels to me, I don't think these are like photoshopped. It feels to me like they're real, but it's the Target inventory system. Somebody just put in a bunch of dummy entries.
I said fake news because I saw that Apple logo on the over-the-ear headphones, and I'm like, there's
That's
no way they're
fake
going
news.
to.
that's-
That's
no,
fine.
Josh.
Yeah.
That's
He put it right on there. That's not
a mock-up.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
It was a mock-up. It
Right.
says right on.
Gotcha.
He's not trying to claim
But
that this was an actual image. He's just saying this was the image that I created as a mock-up just to give you an idea what it might look
Yeah,
like.
I agree with Lori that like there's enough here that works in terms of things like I think the watch bands, like they roll out new colors every spring.
Right.
They've
We
been
know
doing
they're
for
gonna do
years.
that.
I think that makes
Yeah.
exactly. So this stuff does line up well with that March event. The TV one is the one that I have the biggest question mark about, because I think Lori's like logic for that is spot on. I think that product is such a weird place for them to be right now, just because it is so much more expensive than any competing product.
It's
And
$200
because they have been-
roughly.
Right, and because they've been putting their Apple TV Plus app on all the other platforms,
including
it's
other
less
people's
compelling.
TVs. Yeah.
Yeah, TVs, Roku,
Yeah.
Amazon Fire TV. You can get a device that will stream that content much cheaper than an Apple TV, box will do for you. So I'm
now
curious
with their
about
gaming
that.
system too, that with that new gaming $5.99 a month
Arcade
games, because their last one had a gaming component to where you could play games on it. They might have something that's a little bit beefier for that if they find that people are actually
Could be, right?
paying for their arcade. Something with that, maybe.
Yeah. And just like a little spec bump, which is why, it's not a revolutionary brand new product that's cheaper or something like that. They're successful with Apple TV, with the box itself. Not as successful as Roku or something that's much less expensive, but they're successful enough. So until they come up with the completely new set-top box or maybe dongle or streaming stick or something, they're just going to give a spec buck here and there and just kind of say, if you were waiting to buy an Apple TV because you were waiting for a spec bump, well, we just gave you one, so just go buy that now and start watching TV Plus and playing Apple Arcade on it. It makes a lot of sense to me that they would just kind of, appease the masses in that way. I actually waited way longer than I needed to because I was hoping that they would put out a new Apple TV with even just a minor spec bump, and they never did. So finally, in last December, I just upgraded to the 4K. I had the 1080p one, and I just upgraded to the 4K just because I was tired of waiting around. So this probably appeals to people like me, who was let's give it to them, and then we'll have something bigger later. But for now, here's this.
Yeah, and if you think that you get a free Apple TV Plus year, it kind of cuts the price in half. If that's the only way you can get it, if you didn't buy an iPhone or an Apple computer or something in the last year.
I've still yet to watch anything on Apple TV.
It's crappy. Don't waste your money.
No, it's free to me. I still haven't done it. It's free, and I still haven't looked at anything.
Yeah, I bought Disney Plus, or I got it free with Verizon, and I tried to watch Mandalorian, and I didn't even get to the Baby Yoda part before I gave up. So,
oh, Leo, I don't think I could be your friend anymore.
That hurts me.
I didn't get to the Witcher in the bathtub scene either. I feel like I have a short attention span. How soon does Baby Yoda show up?
Like the end of the first episode.
Yeah,
it's like a half-hour episode.
Really
Leo,
soon.
come on.
Seriously, I got about 15 minutes in. Lisa and I looked at each other and go, "This is for kids," and we went and watched something else. I know I'm a bad man. I am not part of the Star Wars generation. In fact, God, I feel so terrible. Did you see the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos Deepfake? Have you seen this yet?
Haven't seen it. Have not seen it.
Karsten is my new conscience.
No,
I can't show it?
No, I'm sorry. It's
Who's
so
gonna-
cool. It's so cool.
Who's
You
going to
should-
get mad at me
You
for
should
this?
describe it really well because it is so
Well, who
cool.
owns the right? I'm not playing I won't play the audio.
I don't know who owns the rights, but
Nobody who makes deep fakes is going to take us off YouTube.
all right, okay. Don't play the audio.
I won't play the audio because that is owned by Paramount.
Oh.
So this is the menagerie. So first of all, I got that wrong. First, I called it Star Wars. Then I got that wrong. I said that's Shatner, and it's not. It's Christopher Pike.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's Jeffrey Hunter, yeah.
yeah, all right. Obviously, I'm with the wrong crowd here. So this is a pretty. Now the audio, which we're not playing, is this audio from the actual TV show. But look at their mouths. Look at their eyes. Look at it. It's indistinguishable. You think Jeff Bezos is the alien with a giant brain, and that Elon Musk is Commander Pike.
It's creepy. It's
And
a
you know
little
what the
uncanny
craziest
valley,
thing
I
about
think.
this is?
What?
They rendered this on a Samsung S20.
I wouldn't be surprised. You're joking, obviously, but
I am.
yeah. I don't know. Would you know if you saw that was a deep fake?
Not at all. I mean,
I
other
think
than
there's
the
something-
reality of the situation.
I think I could write an article to say many people don't know this, but Jeff Bezos was an actor in his early days and even appeared in a Star Trek episode.
I mean, I
Well,
think
they would
that
believe it
looks
about
better
Elon
than-
because Elon's been in a lot of movies, so people would believe that if you said that about Elon.
The makeup on Bezos makes it a little more passable, whereas I think looking at Musk, it's just a little uncanny valley-ish. There's something a little weird about it. But I think the Bezos one is pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. There is something a little odd. And of course, humans, our anatomy is so fine-tuned to detect something weird or wrong. And you couldn't even put your finger on it, but you could kind of see.
I would just think it's CGI or something, right?
Something
like,
looks weird.
Did they just generate this character? It's
like his face is too big for his head or something.
There was one the other day making the rounds of Back to the Future where it was Robert Downey Jr. over Christopher Lloyd and Tom Holland from the Spider-Man movies over Michael J. Fox, and it was eerie. It was very weird.
Can I play that, Karsten?
No, please. Let's not push our luck.
Let's move on.
I won't play the audio. Oh man. All right. Well, all right. If you don't mind, I'm just going to look at it, and I'll.
I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee while you're watching all these deepfake videos.
We'll do the audio.
I don't think the guys that make deep fakes are going to give us a takedown notice on YouTube.
No, but I think that one is close enough that I think the automatic movie.
So it will be the Back to the Future people that will take it down.
Back to the Future people will see us.
Yeah. So Robert Downey Jr. Oh my God, is Doc? What's his name? Doc Brown. Wow.
The Tom Holland one is virtually indistinguishable.
Tom Holland looks so much
he looks a lot like Michael J. Fox.
Fox, so you can't. I can kind of see that's not quite right. So they're getting better at deep fakes, obviously. I mean, these are much better than the ones I've seen in the past.
The technology has come a long way. It is disconcerting, and I think it's worrying, obviously, in terms of like the ability to figure out what's real and what isn't. Certainly,
yeah. In fact, I went to kotkey.org to see this link, and he has a link to an earlier version that's not nearly as good. And so you can see that we have been making progress. What really is amazing is the lips, because they're using the dialogue in both this and the Star Trek from the original. So the lips have to move exactly like the original, and the lip sync looks great. But they have to be Elon Musk's lips. That's pretty. Pretty interesting. I don't, it's disturbing for sure. Is it worrying? I don't know.
Well, as long as you're not famous, you're probably okay.
Oh, God.
But at the rate
Leo,
it's going,
I'm
a famous podcaster. No, I'm not even a famous podcaster. I'm nothing, man. That was the worst cut. A friend of mine once, when I was working at Tech TV, said, "You're an unknown host on a barely watched cable channel." I was like,
ouch.
Yeah, ouch. Wouldn't hurt if it weren't true. EU has passed the bill that says interoperable chargers, and there was some conversation that maybe it wouldn't affect Apple because it wasn't about the actual cables. Well, now it looks like maybe it is gonna. Apple was fighting against it. The EU voted 582 to 40 in favor of a common charging standard, Type-C. And the reason is, hey, we're all buying way too many chargers. It'd be nice if we could reuse them and they wouldn't end up in the landfill. Apple says you're going to kill innovation because the Lightning port is, of course, so much better than Type-C. Is it?
No.
Does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It was better than micro, but it's not better than Type-C.
Grant you as much. Anything's better than micro USB, but Type-C
I'm just saying. Now they don't have that argument anymore, so they're.
I think the tricky thing with that too is so 10 years ago the EU tried to do this with the microchargers, and it didn't really catch on. They did kind of.
They didn't make it a law. They did it a kind of an agreement.
Right.
This time it's going to be a law.
Right, but there's also a moving target, right? Because Type-C will last for 10 years, and then they're going to have to mandate another connector. So, putting that in the hands of government regulation rather than the individual phone makers, I applaud the idea behind it. I just wonder how much it's going to be workable. Is Apple going to create a second phone for the EU market? Are they really going to abandon the Lightning port after all the time and money they spent at it? Are they just going to figure out another loophole for skirting this? I'm a little skeptical it's actually going to happen.
That's what Tim Hardwick's contention is in Mac Rumors. He says this is just going to make Apple make this connectionless iPhone that there's been rumors about that just does wireless, doesn't have a port at all. That seems
which is horrible.
I don't think that's going to happen.
They've already gotten rid of their own Lightning cable. When I buy my MacBook Pro, I'm not even going to pick it up because I don't want to touch it. Has 2 USB-C ports on it and no other ports on it.
The iPad Pro has USB-C.
So
iPad Pro too.
Everything else should just be that, and they need to get rid of it on their own. They know better. They're just squeezing out because they can charge you $45,000 for this stupid lightning cable.
There is a good point to be made there. YubiKey sells their dongles. I use a YubiKey to log into LastPass and other highly Gmail, highly secure things. And this one has a Type A connector on it, but there's a YubiKey with a Type C and one end and a Lightning on the other end. The one with Lightning on it is $40 more than the one with just Type C. And in a way, that's how you can tell. That's the Apple tax is $40.
Well, there's an NFC one too, though, so that in theory that should work.
Yeah, that's actually the one
we're going
to
wireless one.
Yeah, I have the NFC one, right?
I think they'll move eventually because the Lightning port will eventually just pass its usefulness, right? Like in the same way, I think the issue is like they're also worried like when they abandoned the 30-pin connector. It was the right move at the time, but people were not happy about that, about having to replace all their stuff. I mean, it's softened a little bit by the fact that the USB-C is at least standard. But yeah, I'm kind of picturing there being a lot of revolt when they decide to eventually abandon Lightning stuff because so many people have not only cables, but accessories and peripherals. That
I
work
think
with
it's in the next year or two. I think they're going to have to.
And I think now more people will revolt
EU
because they want USB-C.
Right. Yeah, blame the EU.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy because I have USB-C chargers all over the place. I'd love it if everything was USB-C.
But to further Dan's point, and while on the one hand, I do think that Apple was still trying to protect their proprietary cables, the fact is that it potentially could stifle innovation because if there's a regulation that mandates that phones in the EU have to have a USB-C port, why is anyone going to try to make something better than that? If you have to do it, nobody's going to invest in the research to make a better one. They're just going to stick with the USB-C. So 10 years from now, I don't even see why anybody would invest in 10 years from now trying to make a better port because there's this regulation that forces them to make it USB-C. So I do think that these kind of regulations have a negative impact on our ability to like see advancements in technology because money has to get put into researching and investing in this kind of stuff. And if somebody says no matter how cool it is, you can't use it, you have to use this other technology, no one's going to put the money in the first place. It's just going to stop right there.
I believe in the power of man and the power of USB 2.0 to now USB 3.0. And I look forward to the USB-C 2.0 or 5.9.
USB 4 has already been announced, and it uses the Type-C connector.
Yeah, so they just got to keep the same thing and just upgrade it and innovate. I believe in that, but I'm just trying to get off this lightning cable so bad.
I think I would guess Type-C. I would hope Type-C is well enough designed.
My iPad Pro's USB-C.
Yeah, I would hope.
Well, there's also the physical engineering part of it too, though, because if your phone always has to be thick enough to accommodate a USB-C port,
that's Apple's other complaint. But I think I could get a USB-C port on my iPhone.
It would fit.
Well,
I would disagree with that.
There's stuff under
there
you don't see.
Well,
like if you go to iFixit's rundown of the internals of an iPhone, you'll actually see that there's a lot of stuff crammed in there down
I'm just
at the
saying
bottom.
USB-C isn't that much bigger. I mean, I'm not claiming to know, but I'm putting my USB-C Pixel 4 right next to my iPhone 11 Pro Max with its Lightning, and it's a little bigger. It's pretty close.
But yeah.
And we all want it. Like Apple fans want USB-C at this point. Those of us that are kind of entrenched in technology, of course, my mom doesn't want it, but people like me, we're on board with this. We're ready for USB-C. We want it. It's coming. We were hoping Apple would do it on iPhone XS actually, and we're really hoping it for iPhone 11. So with this sort of like regulation in place, with the potential of seeing it, maybe not in this fall, but in 2021, almost definitely, seems very exciting because we've been wanting this all along. Anyway, it's just all the rest of the people you have to get on board with it. Like, why'd they take away my Lightning port? Now I have to get a new cable.
I want them to replace the Lightning port on all the other stuff too. I mean, like my trackpad and my keyboard charge via Lightning. Like that's why. Like that could be a USB.
Your Apple TV remote.
Yep.
Yeah, everything should be C. So I would hope that C is well enough designed that it could accommodate future generations without having to be complete. It's just a physical form factor. It's not. Right?
Well, look at how long we've had the USB-A ports have been around for
those
basically
are still
ever.
good.
So, and they've gotten faster. So I agree. I think it's not like the end of the line, but Lori does have a point that like if people are mandated to put that on there, how much time and energy are they going to invest into trying to find the next best thing? And
true.
Can Apple make an end run around it by doing that, totally portless phone?
It's the general argument against government regulation is, well, don't mess with it. Just let the market rule. But I don't know. I think sometimes...
I'm not usually in favor of that. I want to be really clear. Like, I'm not making an advocate
I
for
just want
general.
USB-C too. I'm going to back you up with that, Dan. I'm right with you. I just want USB-C on everything.
Yeah, me too.
If there's something else, I'd totally
my
disagree.
vote.
But
That's my vote.
I just want C. C is for cookie. It's good enough for me.
Our show today brought to you by, speaking of cookies, wasabi. How about
Wasabi.
Ooh, wasabi? I'm not talking about that green blob on your sushi. I'm talking. It's hot, but it's hot cloud storage. Yeah, I like wasabi in both cases. Wasabi was created by my friend David Friend and his co-collaborator Jeff Flowers. They are brilliant. They found a way to write data onto hard drives sequentially instead of by sector, which saves a lot of time. It's much more efficient, and it gives you hot cloud storage that is, it sounds like I'm making this up. It's 80%, but I'm not. It's 80% cheaper, all because of this new technology. You get 11 nines of durability, as good as you can get. Wasabi does regular integrity checking. All the objects stored are checked for integrity every 90 days. They have multiple redundant operations centers, Tier 4 data centers. They're highly secure. They're fully redundant. So if you do the integrity check and a file is changed, you can get it from the other center. So you're never going to lose a bit, not one bit of data. You've got, I think this is a great feature in today's era of ransomware. You can designate your data to be immutable. It cannot be erased. It cannot be altered. Human error, ransomware, nothing can change that data. That is, you try that on your on-prem storage. You can't do that. You've got access control mechanisms, bucket policies, ACLs, so that you can control who has access to what. Wasabi follows all the best security models and design practices. State of the art. It's HIPAA compliant. It's FINRA compliant. It's CJS compliant. And it is 80% cheaper than S3. And oh, by the way, if you use S3, you already know how to use Wasabi because it uses the S3 API. But unlike S3, there is no charge for API requests. There's no charge for egress. There's no complex storage tiers. It's just a better technology. Why? Because they're the little guys. Everybody, when they say, let's go to the cloud, they're saying S3, let's go AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. And so that nobody even knows about Wasabi. That's why I'm on a mission to tell people, look, if you're looking at those three, add one more name, add Wasabi. I think you're going to be very, very impressed. And I love it because I think we're making headway. I talk to more and more people. They'll come up to me and say, yeah, we chose Wasabi. You were right. You can find out if you want to try it. You can get an unlimited trial for a month when you go to wasabi.com, click the free trial link, and then use the offer code TWIT. So really bang on it. Put a bunch of data on it. Move it around. Try and see how it works. Wasabi, wasabi.com. Don't forget to use the offer code TWIT for two reasons. One, so they know you heard it here. It helps us. But also so you get that unlimited free storage for a month. It is great. If you're a managed service provider, you're reselling this stuff, you can actually give it to your customers for less than they're already paying, and you'll still make more money. You got to love that. Wasabi, wasabi.com. Bum, 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 ba-di-bum, bum, ba-di-da-di-dum-dum-dum. Let's see. Is there any? More Apple stories. I'm sorry. I apologize. All right. I won't do an Apple story. I was going to ask about the story that Mark Gurman had that Apple's thinking about letting you make a different default browser or a different default music app on the iPhone. Is that even possible?
Well, sure, it's possible.
Well, I know they can do it, but why would they do it?
I think it's actually good.
Well, it's good for users.
I think it's good for everybody. I think it's good for users who get a lot more choice and are a lot happier with their options. I think it's good for developers who make those third-party apps because it means they can actually compete on a more level playing field with things like Mail and Safari. Previously, if you had a third-party app and used like Chrome on the iPhone, you'd still get kicked into Safari.
So annoying, I know.
So that's annoying. And I think it's actually good for Apple because not only does it get sort of the competitors and antitrust regulators off their back.
That's why they do it, right?
But also it makes their users happier. And I think it encourages them to improve their own built-in apps because they actually have to compete, not just because it's built in and it's the thing everyone's going to use.
Right.
And I don't think most users are not going to ever touch that. But the users who do want to change it are going to be really happy that they finally have it as an option. So I think it's a win-win-win.
I don't see Safari loading up on a Samsung phone. I wouldn't do it.
No,
I wouldn't do it.
No Android. On any Android phone, you can choose whatever browser is the default. You can choose. I wish Apple would do this. You could choose your own. You can only use Springboard. I'd love to see a different desktop interface, a launcher. I'd love to see all of that, but Apple's never going to do that one.
They're never going to do it.
That's not going to happen. Apple did try to suppress Tom Sadowski's book, App Store Confidential, saying the book has stuff that Tom has agreed never to reveal. Well, of course, according to 9 to 5 Mac, it's now number 2 on the German bestseller list. Whoops.
I almost bought it right away. As soon as I saw the first report come up, I went, "Ooh, this looks interesting," but I don't speak German, so I didn't end up buying it. But yeah, I would buy it too. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Apple says that the operation of the App Store, this guy worked in ran the German version of the App Store. They say the operation of the App Store encompasses a multitude of business secrets. And Sadowski signed an agreement that he would never reveal it or something like that.
Well, I think the original report where Apple had made a statement to, I think The Verge, if I remember, so they fired him. And he had said that he showed them the book. He presented before he was fired, while he was still working with them. He showed them the book, and he felt very strongly that this was going to help developers. And I think that's why this book got so popular. Is the
developers
App Store,
would love
to a lot of developers,
because it's opaque.
Like a dark,
it's a black box. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
And this can help them. I mean, I haven't read it, but it sounds like what he was trying to do was making it easier for developers to get their apps through the App Store and get them approved. But he has been fired by Apple. Their statement was that he had been let go, that he shouldn't have written this book, that he had signed an NDA agreement, so that they want him to destroy all copies of it, not sell it anymore.
But
so that was kind of that.
To date, they haven't sued yet.
Not yet.
He's still selling it. So
right.
Maybe they were just hoping.
You can't take back those books that people bought.
No.
Like if you buy a physical copy of this book, it's
late.
your physical copy of the book. So
it is in German only at this point.
Right. I'd love to see it translated to US. I would buy it and read it. I would love to know some more helpful tips for developers to be able to get their apps through the app process because
arguably,
so often
you just don't know.
I was just going to say, yeah, and arguably Apple should be doing this themselves rather than waiting for someone else to write a book about it, right? They should be helping developers do
No
that.
one's supposed to know why we banned their app. It's secret.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be that way. No. They should be able to know what's going on. I think, I guess we come across, apps that somehow Apple suddenly takes down from the App Store and the developer doesn't understand why, and they get this very vague response. This allows Apple to continue to do stuff like that. That seems really, it doesn't make sense. Why would you suddenly tell me that my app is not approved even though it was approved before? And Apple might say something like, well, now you're copying our operating system, even though Apple might have been actually copying their app or something like that. The secretiveness must allow them to get away with stuff like that and just say, well, we've got our regulations inside here that you have to follow, and you just have to figure it out.
Larry Ellison is, as you know, Oracle is in the Supreme Court in their fight with Google. This is one that's been going on forever and ever and ever. Oracle's trying to collect $8 billion in royalties because Google used Java in the Android operating system, except they didn't use Java. They duplicated the Java API. And Larry says, well, that's a copyright API. So Ellison hosts a nice dinner for the President of the United States, a golf outing, $100,000 per couple for the golf. And if you want to go to the policy roundtable, $250,000, raised a lot of money for the president's reelection campaign. And lo and behold, the Trump administration is now telling the Supreme Court, you should probably reject an appeal by Google on this one. You should. You know what? Oracle's right. There's really no comment on this, right? It's just, wow.
Business as usual, it seems like.
It's a slow pro quo,
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Justice Sotomayor just published a piece saying, actually, no, it was her dissent in a recent Supreme Court case where they upheld a Trump administration policy on immigration, saying apparently the Supreme Court now is just going to listen to whatever the administration says and support their. So that normally you'd say an amicus brief from the president doesn't carry any more weight than from anybody else. I would say in this case, it might carry a lot of weight.
And I thought I saw a story, too, about a bunch of employees at Oracle walking out.
Yes, hundreds.
Related to his
fundraising.
support.
His fundraising for Trump. So Oracle is now like Google, where it's got activist employees who are trying to...
300 employees in Oracle has thousands, tens of thousands of employees. So,
right.
But it made news, so...
Right. Bezos has committed $10 billion to fight climate change. A number of people pointed out that's somewhat cynical because, for whatever reason you want to think that's cynical. The Bezos Earth Fund will begin issuing grants from that $10 billion. I think I'll take it from anybody. But some people say, well, Amazon could do a lot more to end climate change than just putting up a bunch of money. He can afford it.
I think this is a really great thing for anybody with lots of money to do. But I think the skeptics that are out there, Amazon has sort of single-handedly changed the landscape of how people shop. And one of those things is that there's a lot of driving, flying, shipping, a lot of things that are detrimental to the environment are happening.
Do you think, though, that I wonder if there's a net gain because we're not driving to Target? That maybe that
people
truck
still do brick and mortar shopping, and I see the point of view that $10 billion from Bezos, while nice, is not necessarily combating, as Lori puts out, kind of the systematic change that we've undergone because of Amazon. I'm not sure, especially because of the overall rise. It's only one part of it, but it is certainly a big part of it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a fan of Jeff. When he was on Star Trek many years ago,
when he played Captain Pike,
so good. He was such a good actor.
So let me just rant on this for a second, okay?
Oh, it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another patented Owen J.J. Stone rant.
I could care less about your $10 billion when you avoid paying taxes and you pay zero taxes. How about you give out $10 billion every year for climate change or to help homeless or to do something? Then also, when you're giving out this money, why don't you appoint a person that we can go to know exactly what you're doing with this money? Now, Amazon is destroying the planet in general with its shipping. Yes, people go to the stores, but what are you saving when you go order one toothbrush and have it shipped to your house, and then 5 minutes later, I need toothpaste, and it comes in a separate package delivered by UPS, Amazon, and the mailman are coming to your house. So how are you really saving the planet with your crappy system of delivering everything in every which way possible because you want to be convenient? Then on top of that, inside baseball, people return so much crap that they would never do at another store, and it's wasteful, okay? UPS has a system now. Amazon came up with this great idea where they do bulk shipping. So instead of you returning that toothbrush and them shipping out one whole toothbrush, they collect things into an 18Q box, and they can fit 20 to 30 items in that box. That's great, Amazon. Totally appreciate you. But also they have the system where it's computer and it's digitized. At Halloween, at one of our stores, we returned 2,000 costumes in the first week after Halloween.
Oh, that's right. You have a UPS shipping business. Yeah.
Yes. So the day after Halloween, for 2 weeks straight, people were bringing in 4 and 5 costumes. things that they would never return at another store. But since it's on Amazon, they only have to talk to a computer. They return it. So they've got the scam going in. They could dress their whole family up like the Disney Channel for $200, wear it, go out, get their candy, come back in, return it, and then send it back to wherever landfill or trash company or magic shipping container box that people come spend $250 on. And they're just returning stuff that they would never, ever return and not use again. So it's a system that creates so much waste. So when he goes out and he says he's putting out $10 billion, I'm like, you owe me $10 billion in taxes to which you pay zero. So this one-time cookie promo thing that you put out so we could talk about it and be happy, I don't care. I want $10 billion a year, or I want you to pay your fair share of taxes, or I want some direct accountability to this money that you're just handing out willy-nilly.
That was a 2 caramello koala rant. Thank you.
Love you too.
Did you order those on Amazon?
No, I brought. Oh, no, they're from Australia. Our Australian visitors brought me a treat. Thank you.
They look delicious.
Yeah, it looks great.
They also brought me some minties.
Ooh.
But the minties, they said, don't eat these while you're on the show, and they were right. Because they take out all your dental work.
Did you spray them down with Lysol before you started popping them in? Like, where did they come from? Did you check the plane?
Leo.
Did you check? Come on, Uncle Leo. We just got done talking about
What's
this.
done
man.
is done.
Uncle, you just ruined all this. Oh my God, Uncle Leo.
You need to drink some of that Perel.
The die is cast.
Look, hold on, hold it up to the screen. I got you. There, that'll fix it.
I got to ask Dr. Mom if you can if there's like post facto Purelling, like after you.
No, it's called whiskey.
That's better. There you go. Whiskey's good.
Well, I'm definitely in the clean then, because last night there was plenty of that going around.
Oh man, you were at a punk concert. I mean, the mosh pit alone. Oh my God, that's like
the germs that
a
spread on
petri
those
dish
things.
of punks.
Yeah.
Oh man. Twitter has been busy banning and all sorts of stuff. I think they banned 70 of Mike Bloomberg's. This is a little. Maybe there's another rant here, Owen, because Twitter's all excited that they found 70 accounts from real people who were kind of all at once cutting and pasting tweets on behalf of Mike Bloomberg. So they banned those, but meanwhile, we're learning that the Russian troll factory is on overtime for the 2020 election.
Well, they just know how to do it better is the problem.
Is that Twitter is suspending 70 pro Bloomberg accounts citing platform manipulation. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is kind of selective enforcement here.
Well, so think about this though. I read this whole thing from top to bottom, and what it sounds like is that Bloomberg is trying to do something that a lot of people have done, which is hire a company that has people under it sending out tweets to make that Twitter account look more popular.
Right.
And a good company would have people sending individual tweets that sounded more original, that sounded more natural, that actually spoke to these people's.
So is that their mistake? Is that
their mistake
is
is
cutting
that
and pasting?
and using people who
Go ahead,
using
Lori.
people who have no real influencer experience. There was some Twitter follower or Twitter handle that had 0 followers. Another who was previously a supporter of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth, like an outspoken supporter of them, and then suddenly switching to Bloomberg. The problem is that this isn't grassroots. This isn't organic. This is the Bloomberg organization paying people to act like they want him as a president. And so their tweets sound fake. They sound cut and paste, and they don't sound like they're coming from the heart. And what the Bloomberg campaign needs to do instead is to find real passionate supporters and ask them to voluntarily do this kind of stuff instead of get paid to do it. Yeah. And they're just doing it wrong.
I mean,
Twitter's
the thing is, this is an easy situation because, like, all those things, like you said, if they're copy and pasted, that's easy for an algorithm to track down. It's a lot harder to track down people who are being paid maybe, but are also, making it sound more original or more unique. So I think Twitter at least is trying to crack down on some of this stuff, which has some things to say for it. But I think that they're going to find there's a lot more challenge below this. So tooting your own horn about like, well, we took out all these Bloomberg bots when, Russia and all these other things are doing a much better job, as you said. I think that's the harder part.
And to be fair, they've updated their systems because they just caught like the peanut guy with the baby nut thing, the social media company that was promoting that. They caught all those fake accounts too. So their new algorithm is catching them in there, and they are announcing when they're catching people.
The peanut guy with the baby nut thing. What is that?
Is it the
Mr. Peanut,
Are you talking about the Mr. Peanut?
VaynerMedia from the Super Bowl ad. They got caught by Twitter also by using fake accounts trying to promote the hashtag.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Kind of stuff.
So Twitter has updated their system now, so they're announcing when they're catching everybody, and so hopefully they're just getting better at it and catching more people. I mean, it's just amusing how when it's something that you don't understand, it's like, oh, the Russians are doing it. Like we just blanketly blame Russia for everything now. And it's just weird. So, and Bloomberg finding someone that really cares is hard to do because he throws out money. And I wouldn't do anything for Bloomberg unless he paid me because he just
Which is exactly what people are doing.
Yes. Yep. $9 million in Facebook ads in a month.
Yeah.
Insane. And guess what?
Yeah.
Nobody likes you. You can spend all that money all you want to.
You have to buy your friends.
They've hired more than 500 deputy digital organizers, according to the Wall Street Journal, working 20 to 30 hours a week. It's not good pay, Mike. You could pay them better, $2,500 a month. And they're expected to promote Bloomberg every week to everyone in their phone contacts by text message. Oh, geez. We're here in California. I know, Lori, you're in Sacramento. We're starting to get inundated because our primary is coming up on March 3rd. And I don't know, have you started getting texts from every candidate? I am.
I haven't received any text yet. I've actually been pretty good at not getting texts from candidates. They're knocking on my door, though. So I've got the old school canvassing going on right now. I don't know. It's kind of nice. You can actually have a conversation with them a little bit about it.
The weird thing is, I don't know how they got my number. I mean, it's not. I think they got my number because I did give it to one candidate. I'm feeling like the candidates are selling their numbers to other candidates now.
Well, or they're getting hacked. The DNC's just tipping in, dabbling, and doing what they want to do. But the fact that you didn't give people a Google Voice number, it shows another thing of you. Okay, then what's the problem? Ain't no problem.
I mean, I'm getting texts.
You can block that. That ain't no problem.
If I knew what number they were coming from, but if it's coming from a army of volunteers, then I can't. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same number.
Guess you need a backup Google Voice number.
I've only got one or two. I just text them back. I told you never to call me here.
Yeah. One of my friends said, "Oh, you got me wrong. I'm voting for Bernie," and they never heard from him again. So, let's take a little break. Lori Gill is here, imore.com. If you like Lori, and who doesn't, you'll see a lot more of her every Tuesday on Mac Break Weekly, and of course at imore.com. She's at Appaholic on the Twitter, and her band Sickburn is legendary. You need a whole bunch.
We're big in Japan.
Yeah, huge in Japan. Also with us, it's his first time with me, but he's been on to it before with Jason Snell, Dan Morin. Dan, of course, does a great podcast called Clockwise with Micah Sargent and writes for sixcolors.com. He does a bunch of podcasts. You can tell he's a professional podcaster. He has a Yeti floating from the ceiling.
That's how you know.
That means you must be a professional podcaster. And our ranter-in-chief, Dr. Owen J.J. Stone at IQMZ.com. Anything you want to plug, Owen?
Got a new Raising a Ninja podcast coming tomorrow.
That's the one you do with your daughter. She is so awesome.
Yeah. She's pretty awesome. She's pretty awesome.
I am really enjoying watching your journey together. It's a really great podcast.
It's fun.
Raising a Ninja.
Because basically, now we're going to start doing video, by the way, because people wanted to see her expressions and mannerisms.
You're not worried about that? Letting people see what she looks like?
So, again, part of the whole concept of how I've raised her is she posts on the internet and she doesn't read comments. She doesn't comments on her own stuff. She doesn't look at anything. When we do a show together, she doesn't re-listen to it. She doesn't look at it. She doesn't check it. She doesn't care. But she's all in the moment. So just from me training her about how it's supposed to be, She teaches her friends that. She's got her friends not being into likes or caring about who's looking at what and trying to make the perfect picture. Like she's really good with the internet. And I'm super proud because 2 weeks ago, she got slammed illegally in a wrestling match and her wrist was basically broken and dangling. And she looked at the coach and she said, I'm going to keep going. And she got up and she finished the round because she was winning and she didn't want to quit because she didn't want to lose. So she finished the round, goes into the second round, and then the coach called it because he didn't know if her wrist was broken. And the first thing she came up to me, she's like, look, I didn't quit. He called it. I'm like, I know. But I can die knowing that my daughter is tough enough to handle her own self mentally and physically, that she's a tough cookie and she's a fighter. So I can pass out on this mic right now and be a happy dad.
Oh, that's nice. You are indeed raising a ninja. Owen J.J. Stone. Is that at IQMZ.com?
Yes, it's on there.
I asked as if I didn't know. Our show today brought to you by CashFly. If you're a podcaster, if you deliver content, if you've got a website, if you've got an app, you need a CDN, a content delivery network, and there is no one better than our CDN, CashFly. That's what we've been on for 10 years now. We're not alone. Microsoft, NFL, Rakuten. We all use it. LG, Ars Technica, because it's faster. It's faster than it's like up like 5 times faster than your HTML delivery mechanism. It's faster than most other CDNs, about 30% faster than their competition. And now with CashFly's new Cache Shield, you're not only going to be faster, you're going to save money. You benefit from a huge reduction in data transfer fees with AWS's S3 and other cloud storage origins by increasing your cache hit ratio to 100%. No matter how big the content, even if it's 4K, it's going to be instantly delivered on any device, anywhere in the world. It's time to step up. It's time to step up and use CashFly. And with their 100% Cache Shield, CashFly's guaranteed availability, you're just golden. I mean, literally a 100% SLA. That's amazing. It reduces origin spend by thousands a month, guarantees 0 cache misses. Your download speeds go up, no buffering, guaranteed availability, highest quality of service. Scale your video streaming to reach global audiences of any size. This network is amazing, and I say that as a happy CashFly user for many, many years. Look, we love CashFly. We know you will too. And so that's why we set this up. If you go to twit.cashfly.com, bring your current CDN bill, bring your usage trends, and see what CashFly can do for you. No hard sell. They're great people, but they can really make a difference. And if you want to find out whether you're overpaying, whether you can get better bandwidth, this is the way to do it. Bring your bill, bring your usage trends to twit.cashfly.com. We love you, CashFly. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. By the way, it's not just Bloomberg. Get ready. Starting, I guess, in October and leading into Election Day, YouTube homepage will be taken over by the Trump campaign. They're already spending millions and millions of dollars on this. YouTube would not comment on the deal. The takeover, you probably know Owen J.J. Stone. What's a takeover?
Takeover is when people grab your phone and then they post all their stuff on your Instagram, and you get
not that
bombarded
kind of
with their stuff, and you're like, "Why?
Takeover is when you own the homepage and no one else is on there. I mean, that is a big deal.
That's I'm joking about that, but that's what celebrities do, and like they switch each other's accounts and they take over.
I know,
and they post their own stuff.
That's
but
a different kind of takeover.
It's different, but it's the same. I assume that YouTube is going to have the lowest views that day in American history. And not so much that voters care about Trump, but anyone sub 14 is going to be very upset when they log into YouTube that day and they don't see their favorite YouTuber or song or whatever, and they're going to log out.
It's a huge opportunity. This is why people, my kids will say, well, why does the incumbent have an advantage? This is why. He already knows, the Trump campaign already knows he's the nominee. The Democrats don't know yet. No Democrat's going to buy a YouTube takeover for Election Day.
Unless you're Bloomberg.
They can't. Maybe Bloomberg, but that would be nuts. Actually, he could buy it and change the message.
Got the money.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got the money. So does the Trump campaign. They may be spending as much as $500 million on digital ads, according to Brad Parscale. They're going to be very organized, but I thought it was interesting. They're spending as much as $1 million a day to do a YouTube takeover.
Also, by the way, for all the listeners and viewers, we're not talking politics. We're talking politech. Okay, this is
Politech, baby.
I love politech. That's a great term.
So
I'm
this is
stealing
politech.
that. I'm stealing that from you. Owen. That's great.
I'll license it to you, and I expect royalties. But I just wanted our audience to know what was going on. Nothing's free, Uncle Leo. Just so you know, they heard it here first. Politech.
How about a delicious minty?
Don't do that.
Is not sanitized.
Your mouth is
Don't you ship that out here. I don't want no parts of that.
Hey, we did send you candy once, didn't we?
You did send me candy.
Big bunch of candy.
Popcorns. Oh, you guys love me over there. Uncle
We
Leo.
do.
I love you guys too.
We do love you. There is a new, according to Brian Krebs on security, a new extortion campaign, which is, I think, kind of fascinating. Pay up or we'll make Google ban your ads. So the threat is we are going to send so much bot and junk traffic clicking your ads on your website that Google's automated anti-fraud systems will suspend your account for suspicious traffic. Wow. What a clever idea.
Next generation.
Yeah. Here's an example from one of Krebs on Security's readers who maintains several sites that receive a fair amount of traffic. Here's an email. Very soon, the warning notice from above, which is a Google warning, will appear at the dashboard of your AdSense account undoubtedly. This will happen due to the fact that we are about to flood your site with huge amount of direct bot-generated web traffic with 100% bounce ratio and thousands of IPs in rotation, a nightmare for every AdSense publisher. More also, we'll adjust our sophisticated bots to open an endless cycle with different time duration every AdSense banner which runs on your site.
Man, who knew Dracula was so tech savvy?
That's not Dracula. That's
a little Dracula.
Okay.
A little Dracula.
Next, an ad serving limit will be placed on your. No, that's Dracula. They want $5,000 in Bitcoin. What a scam! What a clever scam. Of course, you have to have a botnet.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a DOS.
It's
right?
like a DOS.
Just a different target.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to target the AdSense program because it's where the money is, right?
Money.
Like it's hitting people in the wallet. That certainly feels painful.
Yep.
I mean, I'm curious too about just like ad networks in general. Like this has been a bigger and bigger problem for a lot of these ad networks, is dealing with these with not only like the DOS style attacks, but also like the injection of malicious ads. Like I can't count the number of times I've gone to sites where you get these junk ads that start taking over legitimate sites, right? Like you'll go to a site that's fairly popular, and somehow the ad networks, get hijacked, and they don't police essentially the kind of content in there, and you get the pop-ups or the things like win a free iPhone or get an Amazon gift certificate, and you can't, especially on a phone, you can't go back, you can't get out. All of a sudden, you've gotten kicked off the site entirely. It's really terrible, and it makes me wonder about the longevity left for digital ad networks, between the fact that payments are getting lower and they're getting attacked more as vectors for these type of things. It seems like it's getting riskier and riskier.
It's called demonetization, and you don't want it to happen to you. Remember earlier we were worried that we would get demonetized by putting that Deepfake on. Well, Fortnite last week added a Rickroll emote. That's just a week ago. Rick Astley inspired. The company has already rolled out an update that let PC players mute the music, because if you're a streamer and all of a sudden your stream says "never gonna give you up," you better
not sing that too much.
I don't know. Can they pull me down if I sing it?
That's a
Carson's giving me the stink
compulsory
eye.
Licensing. Compulsory licensing. You need to be able to cover it.
YouTube's copyright detection system has already flagged the emote. And the company that owns the rights to "Never Gonna Give You Up" was claiming copyright infringement and demonetizing the videos. What a world we live in. First of all, that there is a Rick Astley "Never Gonna Give You Up" emote in Fortnite. Second, that "Never Gonna Give You Up" is something you would want to have on your Fortnite stream. Third, that if you do it, the company that owns the record is going to have you demonetized on a platform.
Well, at the end of the
Also,
day,
that
as
song is still
Fortnite
going
should have
after 40
Fortnite should have went to them and said, "Hey, look, we're gonna do this. Let me just cut you a basic check,
Yeah.
and so you're happy." They should know better than to do this, because not for nothing, you are profiting off of that because it is something that everybody knows and it makes people happy. So if you
That's
are
true.
selling it to profit off of it, then
That's
you should went
true.
to them and cut them a check.
That's
so
true.
go ahead
So
and demonetize.
I think we're looking at two different issues here, though. We're not talking about Fortnite doing bad. We're talking about people who are streaming.
They're just playing the
themselves
game.
playing.
And it's
So
well.
I would have to assume, and I don't know, but I would have to assume that Fortnite did do that. They went and cut that check, and now it's the streamers who are getting in trouble because they didn't.
Oh, you're right.
Right. 'cause
That's
And their legal
says
team
Epic
should have
licensed
written a
the
better
song. They must
clause and
They should have
understood that it was gonna
licensed
be
it
live
for
streamed.
all use in all media.
Something, yes.
Now or hereafter ever.
Probably got the money for
But
it.
is there a contract for that says not only us, the people
Yeah, of
who make
course.
this video game,
Sure.
That's
but
what lawyers
also
are for. There's a
literally every
contract-
human being in the world.
Plays in all derivative. You could say we want to license it for all derivative works as well. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's a contract for
A big
everything,
en-
and all you have to do
yeah,
is say
big
is
enough
that
check.
clip of
Big
what
enough
you're
check.
doing, and you encompass it in that because you know what's going to happen. Fortnite knows better in general
Yeah.
because they want their stuff streamed because that's the popular part of the popularity of the game. So someone there should have known better.
So apparently
I would
they're
have
playing.
to argue though that Rick Astley's career has stood the test of time specifically because of this song. So good on him.
Yeah. Who did the first Rickroll? I mean, how did that start?
I can't even imagine.
4chan.
There,
Was it 4chan?
yeah.
Time immemorial.
Yeah. It seems like a 4chan-y kind of a thing. Let me Google the first
That's the
Rickroll.
same. Don't do that. It'll shut your computer down. We don't have time for that. Don't you Google that.
Here's a
Just start
guy.
playing the song.
Here's a guy. Here's a
Clearly gonna
guy
start playing the song.
on YouTube who says I did the first Rickroll with proof. Don't play that. We'll be taken down by some guy with an American Airlines box in the background.
I thought that was an American Apparel.
Oh, I'm
box,
sorry,
actually.
American Apparel. Yeah, this is our new
Either
thing.
way.
Whenever we play videos, we're going to play them with 50% transparency, and
Yeah.
then no algorithm could ever detect that. This is like
Technically, it just said
I-
America.
a
I don't know
reverse
what that
CAPTCHA for algorithms. It's an
Yeah,
algorithm
yeah.
CAPTCHA. The bots can't
Oh,
see.
you're gonna
it.
just find all the supernatural people tracking down the ghosts. This
my
video is
ghost.
haunted.
That's my ghost, man. I want money. Actually, what this has done is add a feature to Fortnite. They tweeted this, where you can now, in the settings, you could switch off all audio from licensed emotes. If you're a content creator, you can select this option to avoid playing licensed music from emotes. This setting does not apply to event playlists that feature content that is licensed, like concerts. So it mutes it so that you can do the emote, but you won't get the "never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down." Let's do a test. Never gonna.
Is Karsten wringing his fists right now?
Carson. I'm just doing this to make Carson crazy. All right, let's take a little break, and then there were a number of passings this week, and we're going to talk about those. Our show today, as always, brought to you from the Twit LastPass studios. We're mighty proud of our relationship with LastPass. In fact, we're going to be at RSA. I may be wearing a full-body bunny suit and a gas mask, but we're going to be at RSA, and we're going to be hosting the LastPass party at Bourbon and Branch. This is such a fun party. We've done this last 3 years in a row, and it's so much fun. We invite anybody who's going to RSA to come to our party. I do want to mention LastPass because not only do they host the studio and are they throwing a great party at RSA, but they are the password manager I use and have used for 10 years running. And everybody should use. We use it here at Twit. Every business should use this. They actually did a survey of businesses it was called the Global Password Security Report. And they found out that employees, on average, at a business will reuse a password 13 times. That means 13 separate accounts. If any one of those accounts gets breached, they're all breached, right? That's what we've seen happen now, is you should never reuse passwords because once an account gets breached, if you use that password anywhere else, you're at risk everywhere else. The average score, LastPass is a great security survey that they do in LastPass. And when you first put in LastPass in your business, they run that. They say on those new users, 49% is the average score. That's not even an F. That's just like completely failing. It means half, in general, it means about half the passwords are reused or very, very weak. The good news is LastPass makes it easy to fix it. And from then on, you use strong, unique passwords everywhere you go. LastPass keeps track. But they solve the authentication challenge in other ways, too. They have single sign-on. When you use LastPass at work, you have over 100 customizable policies. We use those like crazy. For instance, we require two-factor authentication. We have minimum password requirements, things like that. They have lots of other features. MFA, multi-factor authentication. They can guarantee that an employee is actually who they say they are. MFA is brilliant. Uses geolocation, IP address, and other things to really verify, in addition to the password and the second factor and everything else, to really verify that person is the person. And remember, you're giving your employees access to your bank accounts, your databases, your website. I mean, they have the keys to the kingdom. You want to make sure they're logging in securely. But it doesn't have to be painful. Just give them the LastPass browser extension and start solving your access and authentication challenges. There's LastPass Families. That's what I use at home with Lisa, so I can easily share passwords with her. There's lots of nice features, including the emergency access feature that lets me designate family members or whoever you want as the people who will get access to your password vault if something should happen to you. I know we don't like to think about that, but that, to me, that's a huge weight off my mind. LastPass uses all sorts of really sophisticated encryption technologies to make sure that your LastPass data is not accessible anywhere except on your device. The keys used to decrypt and encrypt data are never sent to LastPass servers. They're never accessible by LastPass. And just to make sure that you feel comfortable, that you understand they're the gold standard, they engage trusted world-class third-party security firms to conduct regular routine audits and testing of their service and infrastructure. It works. We love it. You will love it. We use LastPass Enterprise at TWiT. I use LastPass at home, and I have for a decade now. You need LastPass for you and your business with amazing features that both improve security across your company and make life easier for your users. LastPass.com/TWiT. Find out how they can help you. LastPass.com/TWiT. We had a great week at TWiT this week. I may not be back after I go to the party and I get the coronavirus, so I thought I'd play this memorial video.
Previously on TWiT.
Breaking news. I just put it in. I just saw it come across my feed.
Oh, wow. This looks really important. Mark Zuckerberg reportedly gets his armpits blow dried before speeches. No. I was picturing the hand dryers from bathrooms that's like a giant U, and I just don't know how that works.
No, that I use to dry my feet after a shower.
Oh, that makes sense.
Feet in there.
Tech News Weekly.
Apple is reportedly looking at letting folks use third-party apps in the way that folks can use Apple's default apps.
This Week in Google.
Android 11 has been released, the developer preview. Walking through Android 11, there's not a whole lot new to look at. In the quick settings, there is now an option to put in a screen record.
Windows Weekly.
There's people on Reddit, Microsoft Answer Forum, and now I'm hearing from people directly. They have a brand new Surface Laptop 3, and they're noticing either a hairline crack along the corner or sometimes a crack across the entire screen.
How is it an opening sort of screen issue? Because this screen is not affected by the
Stop touching it. You're going to break it. What are you doing?
You're right. What am I thinking?
TWiT.
How many news reports do you have to read?
We read the tech news so you don't have to.
Thanks so much to Micah Sargent for filling in for me on Windows Weekly, and to Jason Howell for hosting This Week in Google. I was gone on Wednesday, and I appreciate it, guys. I promise not to get coronavirus. I promise. I'll be back next week.
That's a promise you can't guarantee there, buddy.
I have an excellent immune system, and I'm going to wear, I'm telling you, full body armor. So, sad story, but I wanted to make sure you all knew that Larry Tesler, who you may not recognize his name, but was a very important person in the computers that we use today. He was at Xerox PARC, the Palo Alto Research Center, when Steve Jobs and Apple employees very famously came to visit and find out about PARC's windowed, menued, GUI computing. Tesler was actually offered later a job at Apple, where his Dodge Valiant bore a customized license plate saying no modes. He was very famous and really very influential at Apple for eliminating modes. Modes, the idea of a mode, if you've ever used VI, for instance, is that you're in VI, you're either in the edit mode or the command mode. You can't do both. The idea of modes is built into DOS computing, command line based computing. You can do one thing at a time. But with this new GUI computing, he was really interested in eliminating modes, and Apple was early on very much about modeless computing. It's kind of funny because we're going back to modes a little bit. The way the iPad works, for instance, you're full screen, you're doing what you're doing, and you have to switch to another screen if you want to do anything else. He was VP of AppleNet and Apple's Advanced Technology Group, ATG. He played a role in the development of products ranging from the Lisa to the Newton. And maybe his most important invention was cut, copy, and paste. Without Larry Tesler, we'd have to call him something else. I think we would have come up with that sometime eventually, but he's the guy who's credited with cut, copy, and paste. Larry Tesler passed away this week at the age of 74. Another big name in computing, but the name you may not recognize, Bert Sutherland, also passed away this week. He was a computer scientist, longtime manager of the Sun Microsystem Labs, the System Science Laboratory at Xerox PARC, and the Computer Science Division of Bolt, Beranek, and Newman, where he helped develop what was eventually to become the Internet. He participated in the creation of the personal computer, microprocessors, Smalltalk, Java, and the Internet. It's kind of amazing, these guys who are in the early days of this stuff, how much they could influence. His brother Ivan Sutherland and Carver Mead and Lynn Conway developed VLSI, very large-scale integrated circuits, at the California Institute of Technology. Pretty cool. So another farewell to Bert Sutherland, legend in computing. He was 83 when he passed away in his Mountain View home. I don't like to end on a sad note. Let me think of something fun. How about 40 years of Photoshop, 30 years of Photoshop? And in order to celebrate...
And how it brought us the deepfakes.
Without it, there would be no
Without
deepfakes.
Photoshop, we wouldn't be where we are today with deepfakes.
New iPad
Thank
and
you,
Mac
Adobe.
features coming to Photoshop. Photoshop 1.0 came out February 19th, 1990 on Mac System 6. To even run on System 6 is an amazing achievement. I mean, there was no memory management or barely any.
That was the first OS, Mac OS I ran.
Really? Yeah. You were 8 years old at the time.
And 10.
10.
For sure. Close enough.
Close. So
I'm older than Photoshop. How about that?
Happy anniversary. Yeah. Barely. Happy anniversary. 30 years of Photoshop. That's pretty cool.
I just saw this Hot Wheels RC Cybertruck Mini.
I thought you'd like this one. Do you want this? There is now a mini Tesla Cybertruck. It even has the broken glass.
It's $400.
Well, yes, it's a collector's item.
But think how much cheaper it is than an actual Tesla Cybertruck.
It's not. I could pre-order a Tesla for $100. I got a Tesla lock already.
It's a remote control vehicle. 1/10 the size. It's not made out of metal. It's made out of plastic. Yeah, that's a little. It feels like that's a little.
I mean, $200, $250, maybe $400. Like it's.
Well, there's a 1/64th model that's only $20 though.
Oh, there you go. There's a tiny one for $20.
Is Hot Wheels?
Get that.
So Hot Wheels is still a thing? That's pretty cool.
Hot Wheels is forever a thing.
I always wanted a Hot Wheels when I was a kid.
They're definitely in the collector's market now, though. Yeah, a lot of the things that you see come out are sort of special, exclusive to a certain brand. They do a lot of licensing of cars and stuff. So there's a lot of adults buying Hot Wheels now.
Are my old ones worth anything then? Because I got some in my parents' attic.
Yes, there are. I was actually at a toy store not that long ago, a used toy store that had vintage stuff. And some of those old Hot Wheels in terrible condition are worth 50, 60, 70. Wow. In good condition, hundreds.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I gotta check this out.
Excuse me, Lori, what are you doing?
Yes.
Those Hot Wheels aren't worth anything, and if you want to send them to me, I'll send you a prepaid shipping package, and you can ship them all out to me. I couldn't imagine you getting 2 to 3 cents for those things. I mean, but I'll take them off your hand. If you want to get rid of them, they're cluttering up the attic.
I happen to like Hot Wheels a lot. I'm going to do you a favor. I'll give you $1.
There we go. Lori, you're killing me out here.
It's pure nostalgia.
What are you doing?
And JJ Stone, even though he looks like Papa Smurf, is not going to miss a trick on this one. Thank you, Owen, for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure. IQMZ.com, his Raising a Ninja podcast with his daughter is so good.
And I'm doing IQMZ Tech tomorrow. It'll be live. It won't be as good as this, but I try my best sometimes to talk tech. And I'm coming out there in April, but now I'm scared. I was going to come hang out and do some shows live with you. I was going to come bring the studio.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking.
I'm saving some minties for you.
No, see, I'm going to have
Save some
Lisa
Perel for him
before I get there. I want the place to smell like Lysol and Clorox before I get in there.
You know, we could do, this is what, if we were YouTubers, we could both have a minty and see who could talk first. That kind of thing. Be fun.
When I get out there, we're going to be TikToking all week long.
Be the Minty Challenge.
There we go.
Thank you, Owen. Always a pleasure. Great to see you. Thanks to Lori Gill, who's doing double duty. She's going to be back on Tuesday for Mac Break Weekly. She sings for Sickburn. She is managing editor at imore.com.
I'm doing it all. I'm a Renaissance
And her
woman.
significant other has the softest hands.
From using working hand.
Yeah. We talked.
Are we plugging
Tuesday,
something that you need a sponsorship for?
Did that make it into the show, Carson, on Tuesday? We were talking about
No, it didn't.
moisturizing. For some reason I don't. But ever since I've been using Helping Hands, can you tell?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You are using it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
nice, right?
Much softer. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori Gill. Dan Morin, I hope we didn't scare you. Come back soon.
Be my pleasure. I can take this opportunity to plug my book because I'm an author as well as a writer and a podcaster.
Right.
So my most recent book, The Bayern Agenda, which is a science fiction spy novel, came out last year. The sequel to it comes out in May. Pre-orders are open now on Amazon and all fine bookstores from around the world. So check that out if you're interested.
And you also have The Caledonian Gambit.
Yep, that was my first novel from 2017. So they make a nice little gift package.
The Bayern Agenda is book 1 in the Galactic Cold War saga.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be more.
Hopefully more to come. Number 2 is out in May. So
can't wait. How is it writing? You like writing novels?
I love writing novels. One I wanted to do for my entire life, so I'm glad I get a chance to do it. It's hard work, though. I'll tell you that. I like relaxing with a little bit of podcasting.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, I work at home, and all my work is a little solitary. I enjoy the podcasting because it's like the only time I get to talk to people. All day.
Yeah,
so
I know how you feel. Also, regular on the Incomparable Jason Snell's podcast. He writes for the6color.com. He and Micah do Clockwise. You also do The Rebound on Relay FM. And the nerdy game show, Inconceivable.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you say it like that.
Oh, indeed.
Inconceivable. Thank you so much. Great to have you, Dan. Inconceivable.
Thanks for having me.
I do not think that word means what you think it means. We do This Week in Tech Sunday afternoons, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, 22:30 UTC. It's always a lot of fun. You can watch us do it live. There's a few ways. As I mentioned, we have a studio that's open to all. Our studio audience is always very welcome. If you want to be here on a Sunday afternoon, if you're in the Petaluma area, it's in Northern California, just email tickets@twit.tv. We'll put a chair out for you. Anywhere in the world, you can watch or listen to a live stream at twit.tv/live. But of course, I know you got a life. We all have lives. So listen to the on-demand version. They call that thing a podcast. And you'll get all of our shows either from our website at twit.tv, in this case, twit.tv/thisweekintech, I think. Actually, just go to twit.tv, click shows, because that's the one URL that's complicated. You can also subscribe. In fact, you would do me a favor. Subscribe to your audio or video on your favorite podcast player. That way you'll get it every week, and they'll get a little signal that, hey, maybe this show isn't dead. So, that's always good. So that was a little more negative than I planned. Subscribe in your favorite podcast. We would love to see you at Bourbon and Branch on Wednesday. And I don't think anybody needs to wear a mask. No, it's just a nice bunch of people. but keep your hands off. They have very nice food. Please use tongs. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another twit is in the
can.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Doing the twit. All right. Doing the twit, baby. Doing the twit. All right. Doing the twit.
All right, we got my personal physician on the line, Dr. Mom, Lillian Banchik. Hello, Dr. Mom.
Hey, Leo. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? Are we all staying safe?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you're not an epidemiologist, but you're a physician.
Correct.
And you've been, trained in all this stuff. Are they preparing at the hospital? Do they prepare for influx of new patients and things, or what?
They're prepared for any kind of epidemic. What happens is they go into what's called an emergency mode. They have special triage centers. Somebody comes, if you go into a hospital right now and you're coughing and you have a fever, they're going to ask you, have you been in an international airport?
Right.
Have you been around people who've been overseas? And if the answer to any of those are yes, you're being stuck in a private room by yourself.
Although isn't that about to change, because it has been contained up to now in a few locations, but as time goes by and those people travel and stuff, it's leaking out. And I know, are those questions even germane anymore?
Oh, they are. I have a friend of mine who's worked with the CDC and WHO in the past, and she travels internationally, and she's got a head cold right now, and she's terrified.
Yeah.
Because she's coughing, and they're asking her, have you been in an international airport? Yeah, 3 times in the past month. Do you know people who've traveled overseas? Yeah. She's afraid she's going to get stuck in the slammer for 2 weeks.
Well, maybe she should. Is she sure it's a head cold?
Yeah, she's sure it's a head cold because the same one I got, she gave it to me.
Are you sure it's a head cold? How do you know?
I'm sure it's a head cold.
How couldn't it be the first signs of COVID-19?
Where's my Lysol at? I got to spray my mic down.
We can't get it through Skype, right?
You sure?
No, but I will tell you, I flew up to San Jose on Wednesday and came back yesterday.
Yeah.
And I went through the San Diego airport, which is where they brought in all the patients who were on that ship.
Plus, there was some in San Jose, too.
Yeah, the airport smelled of Clorox and Lysol, and everybody was wearing masks improperly. I had one guy wearing it. It was below his nose, which, of course, does you no good whatsoever. And they're wearing gloves, and everybody is paranoid.
I want to tell me if I should buy this mask. This mask has a respirator. It has eye protection. No virus is going to, it's $180. No virus is going to get in with this, right?
No virus is going to get in, but I'll be very serious. People should not get that. Do you go scuba diving, or have you ever gone scuba diving?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's like breathing through a mouthpiece. It is very difficult.
You wouldn't want to wear it for too long. Yeah.
No, you got to suck the air in and stuff.
It's hard work.
A properly fit medical grade N95 works. That and gloves.
So I found from the fires, I found a box of 3M N95 masks. But you point out that N95 is kind of, this is what I have. I bought these a while ago.
Well, I sent you the link. I can shoot it over to you again, of the CDC standards for what constitutes an N95.
But it's got the check mark. It says it's N95.
Yeah, there's N95 and there's N95.
Well, that sucks.
We were just talking about that. There's gold-plated and there's gold-plated.
So is this...
That's right.
This is really for people who are doing a lot of sanding. It's not...
It's designed to... Yeah. It's designed to keep the dust and all that stuff out of your...
Will it help if I fit it right? If I put it over my nose and make sure there's no leakage on the edges, will this help?
Yeah, but where are you going to go to get the fit test? When I was working in the hospital, every 6 months, or if we lost more than 10 pounds, had dental work, anything like that, we had to go get remask fit.
Well,
all of those things will change.
What about this?
And, doctor, the beard goes.
You can't have a beard with N95, even if it's blue.
No, you can't. You can't. It won't fit.
Hey, I'm prepared to rip this thing off. This is a strap-on beard. You guys understand. I am fully prepared to do whatever I need to do to survive.
About this N95 mask that has your face on it so that you can still do face recognition?
Which better not work.
That strikes me as a joke.
It is kind of a joke.
I mean,
yeah.
the bottom line is, if you're really serious about worrying about N95, and you work in a hospital emergency room, anywhere where you're going to have people coming in who are coughing and sick, and who may have potentially been in contact with this, you want a mask that fits properly. You don't want a joke.
No, but we're not in a
gloves.
hospital. We're just normal people who are worried. I've got to go to a conference on Wednesday, the RSA conference. Already, Mobile World Conference was canceled. The GDC, which is coming up, the Game Developers Conference, Sony and Facebook have pulled out. Sony is pulled out of PAX East. I feel like the conferences are just as risky, are they?
Did we start the
They
show?
absolutely
Sort of.
Well, if you think about it, every time you go to CES, you get convention crud. Now, did you hear Venice canceled Carnival?
Really? Now
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
serious. Now this is serious.
And I'm
Everybody's
waiting for
wearing
Brazil to do the
those
same.
plague doctor masks. Isn't that good? Isn't that kind of a medieval N95 mask?
Yeah, they used to stuff them full of straw, thinking that would get away the evil vapors. I'm waiting for Brazil to cancel it. The Tokyo Olympics may get fried.
What? But no, the
don't
president
get
says once it warms up, we don't have to worry anymore. Isn't that
But the
true?
president doesn't believe in global warming, so it's never going to warm up.
No, but seriously, doesn't this stuff go away in the summer? It's only a winter phenomenon?
We don't. This is the problem. We don't know.
Oh, we're screwed.
Flu. If you're going to compare it to classic flu season, that's October through June.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to go away. Maybe it's not. The catch is, remember I told you on the Tech Guy show, we know that it came most likely from the pangolin, which is an Chinese animal that people eat over there. It has a shell like an armadillo. They use it for, making things out of. Once it got into humans, they were hoping it wouldn't jump from human to human. Well, it's jumping from human to human, and that's why we don't know what's going to go on.
Much like the pangolin jumps from tree to tree.
Exactly. But if it can jump from human to human and it keeps spreading, there you go. There's your pangolin.
Don't eat that,
Cute
folks.
little guy, isn't
Stop eating them. No more
Looks
pangolins.
delicious.
I don't. So, Dr. Mom, for a normal person who may be planning to go to a tech conference this week, i.e. me, what should I do?
A lot of Purell. Carry your hand sanitizer with you.
Oh, I don't have to worry about airborne particles?
No, I'm just giving you a list.
Oh, you just
should
started.
Wear a mask.
I should
You
wear a mask?
A mask.
What kind of mask?
Make sure it fits an N95. What you need to do is put it on your face.
Yeah.
Suck in and make sure that, cover the vent.
And it should
Suck
go.
in and make sure it sucks.
Yeah.
It should suck
It
to
should
your
be
face.
a seal. Yeah.
Right.
So, Dr.
You
Mom,
wanna
I'm
make
on,
sure
I'm on
you-
the FDA.gov website, and they are suggesting N95 respirators for use by the public. And they have listed out 3M particulate respirator, and then they have some numbers behind them.
So that's the one I got. I can wear that.
Maybe
There were-
not, though,
there were
because
different
I'm
models.
doing just a general search on Amazon right now, and I can't find the one that specifies the number,
Yeah,
which is
they're all sold out.
8670F.
They're all
Oh,
sold
that
out.
might be why.
Yeah.
So the number, do yours have the number 8670F or 8612F?
No, mine's 8511. So you're saying that's not good?
So I'm saying that's not.
Oh!
That's not. Yeah.
Nope, that's no good.
Yeah.
So I can't wear this. I have to. If I'm going to RSA, I have to put my head in a saran bag or something, or what do
Or
I?
just go find that particular.
I thought masks
model.
aren't the masks more effective for the people who already have the disease and the risk of spreading it
No.
rather than.
Well, since you almost touched your face 4 times there, no. The whole idea is we think
Fair.
we picked on you. Emma. People will touch the surfaces where the
Right.
virus is on
Yeah,
it.
you shouldn't touch your
You then
face.
touch your face.
You told me when you were in surgical training, you were taught you were not to. But do you ever touch your face now, Dr. Mom?
Force a habit. No, I'm either walking around with my hands up in the air like this, or you learn to walk around like this.
Okay. So
Because you're holding
That's a
your
good
own hand, so you
I'm
don't
gonna
touch
wear.
anything.
I'm gonna wear a
So
kimono.
black people aren't going to get sick because we're used to walking around like this with the cops all the time.
Oh God,
We're good.
I'm not going there. I am not going there.
All right.
I can go there, Dr. Mom. Oh, doctor can go there. You don't have to. I already
Yeah,
went.
he goes
I'm
there
already
for
went.
you. All right. Well, Lillian, thank you. You've really not encouraged me at all. Your advice in the chat room was you should not go.
Yeah, Purell and a properly fitting N95, because unfortunately you're going to have people from all over, and you do not know who's been exposed to what, and we don't know how transmissible this thing is.
That's the problem. Is there's a lot of unknowns. right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but I'm not going to be able to find an N95 mask because they're sold out. The good ones are sold out.
The hospital.
Well, if you don't go on Amazon, maybe you can find it in a better, like something more like medical specific or something like that.
No, that's your problem. As I said, I have friends who work with the CDC, WHO, and such. And one friend of mine who actually used to go into the caves in Kazakhstan and smuggle in vaccines to the kids. And she says, you can't get the real ones right now for love or money. In other words, the hospitals have them. They are hoarding them. What they do is in the hospitals, they'll put you into a negative pressure room where you sit in the room and all the air is sucked in and then out through a HEPA filter. So anything that you breathe in there doesn't get out to the rest of the people. So you go into negative pressure.
Wait a minute. My 8511 is okay. I just found that on the CDC website. It says it says yes.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Then just I would seriously wear that mask there. Anytime you're going to a group now, on the other hand, I don't listen to my own advice. I was just at a knitting convention where there were people from all over the world. And we're all sitting there coughing and sneezing and talking to each other. None of us were wearing masks.
You can't get coronavirus from knitters.
Well, yes,
You'd be surprised.
All right, here's the instructions. I'm going to read these. You think they're going to mock me at our? We're having an event at the LastPass event on Wednesday after RSA. They think they're going to
put a LastPass logo on the front.
I'll do that. There you go. And how about shaking hands? Probably shouldn't do that.
I would. Do you have a lot of Purell or other hand sanitizer?
Yeah, I have hand sanitizer. Is that good enough?
It's very good as long as you use it. Now listen, it has to dry. It's not good wet.
So
in other words, put it on, rub it around, but then you have to let it dry.
Then hold your hands like this and let it dry.
And hold your hands like this or like this.
They say it has to stay wet for 30 seconds to kill the virus.
Right. But the point is it's also not effective while it's wet. It's once it finishes drying that you know you're good.
Okay, so folks...
And make sure you really rub it in.
If you come to our LastPass party, expect an elbow bump. That's all you're going to get. I'll be the guy with the Bane mask on. And
works.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to do that. And John's giving me... I'm going to take my Purell with me, so I'm ready at all times.
You're going to be drinking that.
Yeah, how much of that you have to drink before you're really...
Thank you, Dr. Mom.